So, let's talk Starfield. This is my pre-release review and will be going out the day before the full release of the game. This is from my personal experience with Starfield and with some straight up gameplay in the background as well. But firstly, I just want to say this, people need to calm down. There are already so many reviews, reports and statements out there calling for the game's head and telling you not to buy it, that it's a shit game, and all because of limitations that they've put in. I genuinely believe that people are hating and pushing bad reviews just because of the first impressions that they would have had years ago and to fit in with everybody else. What you need to remember is that at its core, it's a role-playing game. Comparisons are being made to No Man's Sky and for some obvious reasons, but at its core they are very different. No Man's Sky arguably can be put in the same bracket as a flight simulator, truck simulator, farming simulator or whatever simulator. The only difference is its name isn't Space Simulator. At its core, this is the game's primary function. Just because Starfield is set in space, you cannot expect the same experience of a simulator style game. It's like playing Call of Duty and saying it's shit because you can't dialogue choice your way out of a shootout. That's not the game's function. At this stage, people are mad at Bethesda for making a Bethesda game. Just for the fact that you can't seamlessly travel to a solar system, fly to a planet, get out without any loading screens, run around the entire circumference of the planet, get back in your ship, and take off. It's a ridiculous expectation. Starfield is a Bethesda Game Studio RPG, and just because it's not called Elder Scrolls doesn't mean they won't use the same systems and ways around data caching and rendering distances to make the game a better experience for their core requirements and their core audience. If they put more of the game abilities into allowing all of the above, it would have to take away from the RPG experience. And for an RPG based game, I know what I would choose personally. So basically, if you do like the Bethesda model, and you like their earlier titles like Oblivion, Fallout 3, New Vegas, then trust me, you'll fuck with this game. I loved it, and I'll continue to love playing it. But as usual, you start off with about a 10 to 20 minute pre-game before you get to make your character. The customization abilities there are about the same as in previous titles, but with a couple of extra twists on different abilities and backgrounds that you can choose from. You quite quickly get pushed into combat as you usually do, and it doesn't take long for the campaign to start and for the lore drops to start flowing. The combat system is very reminiscent of what you would have experienced in Fallout 4, but to be honest, it's just a whole lot more polished. They seriously flex their muscles with the creation engine too, allowing for jetpack mobility in an already embellished system. Different weapons can have different abilities like a percentage chance of poison damage or 30% extra damage in space or on a planet. That, mixed with excellent sound design from a weapon perspective themselves, the animations are cleaner, and with full modding of the weapons allowed, it is a full and huge step forward. For a game like this to have made that much progress on an FPS standpoint is something which I have welcomed a lot and continue to enjoy every time I pick up the game. It also doesn't take you long at all to know that they have expanded and improved on a lot of what has made BGS as famous as they are. The city designs though are a bit hit and miss. Like New Atlantis is a very corporate futuristic style city. What I would imagine a CEO of a Fortune 500 company would say is the ideal way to create a city of the future. Just boring, despite it being one of the largest cities Bethesda have ever built. Whereas Neon is actually elite. But then again, I guess I have a soft spot for that kind of design, but beyond the art style, it just feels more alive, more active, there's more to do, and it just seems a bit more fun, and that's what we're in games for enjoyment. There's a lot more to catch your eyes, there's something around seemingly every corner, and it's a vibe that I can imagine where a lot of degenerates appreciate and like to be, so I'm immediately going to be drawn to it. And as with any RPG, you have your usual abundance and side quests, and ooh, what's that over there type moments. And some of it is pretty cool, like robbing casinos, stopping a robbery on a bank, your usual fetch quests, and how many ships can I destroy here by myself? There's a whole lot to do. But I would recommend to stick to the main campaign for a little bit. It is worth sticking to it for a few missions, or to be fair, a fair few, as it does open up a lot more options. I won't spoil anything, just trust me on this, okay? There is, however, big elephant in the room, some serious grinding and time needed before you can make any substantial headway in both the ship and outpost customization. Don't get me wrong, both the outpost and ship building you can start basically immediately if you have the resources required, but you just can't make anything decent off the bat. Credits become an issue when building a ship, especially if you start customizing the frontier. You can always purchase a new ship as well, but then again, credits are needed as well. However, once you do get all the credits and all the resources, and you get to that stage, the amount that you can sink your teeth into is really promising. Some may find that the outpost side of it is a little bit more complex and built up than before, especially what was in Fallout. It's probably easier to explain it by mixing that settlement building from Fallout 4 and the habitat building from Subnautica and putting them both together. I'm not going to touch too much into this, as soon I am planning to put out a guide on how to get your head around these building systems, so if you are looking forward to that and for more Starfield content to drop, put a sub down below and make sure your notifications are on for any and all future guides for Starfield. But overall, I'm going to keep this relatively short. For me, it's a very promising game. I think there's a few in there that's a bit of a disappointment. Like, I personally don't like the colour wash of the game. They have tried to keep it as true to life as possible, and a lot of the planets are quite barren, but they just have a very grey and muddy wash over them. There's a lot of deserts and a lot that's there that's not too appealing. Like, the only reason to go there is a very specific resource that you need to use elsewhere on something that looks a hell of a lot nicer. The occasional cave and geographical feature will pop up and you can go and locate them, but again, the loot and everything in there, for me, that I've found so far, seems to be pretty subpar. It's basically a watered down version of what you can find to expect in Skyrim, but with very little reward. It's not enough to deter you from it completely though, but honestly, you'll just tend to lose interest in those planets after not really that long. The planets that are habitable, however, are literally the polar opposite. They are gorgeous, amazing landscapes and some beautiful vexors, which you can make use of the built-in camera function to fully appreciate. The ruins, the broken down areas, I'm pretty sure on one planet I found like an abandoned hospital, and I'm pretty sure it was a broken down shipyard as well, and both of them were very enjoyable to explore. So there is good in the game and there is bad, but for me the good has miles outweighed the bad, and given the current state of AAA gaming that we have, I'd take this game any day. For those of you on Xbox, and if you do already have Game Pass, you will be a fool not to download this game. If you're a previous fan of the studio, you will love it, but if not, and this will be the first ever Bethesda game you've tried, firstly, have you been under a rock your entire life? Just grow up. Secondly, don't go into it thinking there's going to be a simulator. Otherwise, you're going to have a great experience with it, I promise you that. There's a lot of basics that I haven't touched on, and there's a lot of things that other reviewers have probably said about that I haven't. But that's because I'm planning on doing a bunch of other videos I've got planned in the coming days and weeks, so keep your eyes peeled. If you did like the video, let me know down in the comments below. And just before you do go, the famous superfan is back, and you can take him on your ship, and it automatically, for me, means that Starfield gets a 10 out of 10. If you agree, let me know down in the comments below. If you don't, let me know in the comments below. But until next time, take care people. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
I do not really have a choice here, do I? I do not have to know.
Come on, Dimitri, enough talk. Let's just kill this fool while we have the numbers.